What is up, designers? Back in the NCTC campus in Denton this week to record the slides going over our coursework for the week. Okay, so we're in Unit 3. We're learning about carving, subtractive carving. We actually last week did some clay modeling as a way to sort of practice and make a plan for our subtractive sculptures that we're going to do. So you did the doodles, you did the 5 models, and now we're going to do our first week of actual carving. Let me go over the slides first here, but there's also a demo video for you to watch on how to carve, or how I recommend to carve. Should be told, that one's really, really long. So I know I say this every week, but I'll try to be a little more brief here in this one. So yeah, you can jump on. Now, hopefully that video even works. If it doesn't work today, I may have to upload another day because it may have been too long and might be too large to upload. But in any case, yeah, you guys should now be seeing your slides for this week. This is week 2 of Unit 3. Okay, so you're going to see your practice. I guess this will be practice number 3, though, technically. Your other first 2 assignments were practice 1 and practice 2, the doodles and the clay models. But in any case, so yeah, from this week, we will practice carving from a solid block. I know I put a lot of text in these, but it's also partially due to the fact that it's all online. I have to do my teaching through slides in a way. But in any case, you will create 2 of your favorite clay models by carving. This is where you'll use that block of wax that you bought or the soap. And hopefully, I think the blocks of wax should usually give you enough for 2. I hope it's not a problem if you only got 1 soap. You can go get another one, but you can try 1 of each. I don't mind that, or you can just stick to 1 and improve upon it, right? So yeah, I will say you should start by carefully cutting the wax to proportion, or taking note of the soap and how it is shaped or proportioned. Think about the tool you use for cutting the wax down, like a serrated knife or a jewelry saw. Just be sure not to break it. Yeah, so that's cutting the wax down. You want to cut it to where it's fairly close to the proportions of what you want to carve. I said that in the video too, because you don't want to be cutting away too much. You want to be sure it's close to the proportions, or be ready to change the proportion of your sculpture based on what you've got in front of you. So like in the video, like in this slideshow, I just cut the wax to fit the sculpture I wanted to do. But in the video, I used Dove soap. So I noted that Dove soap has that curve in it, so that I could adjust my sculpture accordingly, as this slide shows you right here. So be sure to choose a form to practice that works with your block. This is the most key and important thing, and I'll repeat it so many times in the slides, is that you have to remember you can't magically make things appear if they go outside of the original block. Okay, yes, of course you could add, but that's additive sculpture. You can add to your block, you can add extra pieces possibly, but overall, if you're just going to be focusing here in this project on carving from a block, everything has to be inside of that original block. That includes if you're going to use a base, create a base to stand on. Okay. Now that said, I will require a base on the final, but what's nice about the flower foam is you could just use an extra block of flower foam as your base. I'm not real sure. That might be pretty easy. You don't necessarily have to leave the base in the sculpture. But I think overall, I've always taught this project where you need to leave the base kind of as part of the sculpture. Or at least be ready to figure out how you're going to attach a base. In any case, for the demos that you're going to see in these slides, you'll see I had a wax block that whenever I opened it, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was a bubble or if they all have this, but the wax block has this hole, this channel down the middle of it. I don't love that, and I'm really sorry for those of you who bought this if you do have the same hole, but I'll show you how I adapted. But in any case, yeah, I'm used to carving the soap, and this is my first time trying the wax. But in any case, what I did is I just made sure that my mini sculpture that I was going to base it off of didn't have like a center area. I kind of basically left a negative space in the center of one of these 5 sculptures I made, so I chose it to practice in wax. And this also leaves like a cool, engaging negative space. I'm going to have this large empty space in the middle that allows me to, 1, engage the space, and 2, work with that block with the hole. In any case, yeah, you can make small edits. You know, if you're using the Dove soap, you could add a curve. Again, that's what I do in the video. Or, you know, a little design. Here with the wax block, I leave a base. With the Dove soap, I actually did leave a base, but you don't necessarily have to leave a base if you're using a Dove soap and you need to use that full oval shape. But again, remember, we're going to have a base in the final, so be ready to figure out how to attach or how to you know, leave the base in there. In any case, start with one side, but think orthographic. Remember when we did the rock drawings at the beginning, when we did our first project, we learned about orthographic drawing, where we draw things from all 6 sides that we can see, you know, front, back, side, side, top, bottom. I want you to think about that, but I don't necessarily recommend drawing all 6 orthographic drawings on your block. You don't have to draw them separately, although it's probably not a bad idea to draw them, you know, on a separate piece of paper. But what I want you to just do is basically look at your block and think about orthographically how you can make sure that all the parts of your sculpture from that same angle can fit inside the block you're going to carve. Look at it from all 6 sides. But then when it comes time to draw on the block and start carving, I recommend you actually just draw on the one side you're going to be carving from first. Okay? Yes, it is best to draw and focus on one side at the start. X mark, no, don't. I don't recommend drawing on all 6 sides. The first reason I don't recommend it is as soon as you start carving on this front side, if you've got a big drawing over here on this side, look, you're going to cut away this negative space and your drawing's going to be cut off. Right? So it's pointless effort. I mean, it's good exercise for your brain, I guess. But I've just noticed people wig out when they start realizing they just cut the, you know, as soon as you cut this negative space off, you're going to cut that side of the drawing off. And the other thing is, because of that, you will be tempted to not cut that side off, and you will want to start carving from the side or the bottom or something as soon as you get to a difficult place. I say all this in the carving demo, but I'm reiterating. You really should just draw one side and then start carving just from that side. It's pretty key that you have to do both of those things. You can't start carving on the side until you draw on the side, but don't draw on the side until you're done carving from one side, like the front. Okay? So, yeah, draw everything on one side like you're seeing a silhouette. So remember too, like, even if there are parts that aren't necessarily on the, you know, if you're starting here from the front, if there's some part of it that's not on the front of the final sculpture, you know, something in the background, but, you know, it's part of the sculpture, it's going to be in the block, you have to be sure you leave that in the silhouette. Think of it as a full silhouette, because if there's some shape back there that you plan on using and then you cut out this piece and that's where that piece, that structure was going to be, you know, it's just gone. But anyway, yeah, draw it like a full silhouette, like you're seeing that sculpture fully from that side. It helps you realize that everything has to fit inside the original block. If at any point you are drawing onto the face of your block, you know, if I were to draw this curve and it go outside of my block, you can't just magically make that appear, right? The whole drawing has to fit inside of the bounds of the block. It will be trouble later if you're drawing, you're trying to get it to go off of the block. It's just not going to be there, right? You're going to go to carve and you'll be like, what do I carve? And it's going to be nothing. Okay, I know it seems like I'm way overstating that, but seriously, you can't, if the drawing goes outside of the block, you can't just make it magically appear. All of the drawing has to fit in the block. Okay, that's enough of that. Real quick before I get started, safety. First safety. Safety first, first safety. Okay? Either just whittle away parts with a blade very carefully, or carefully scoop with the carving bits like you see me doing here. In the video, I pretty much just used the blade and whittled away and cut. And I do kind of fib on my rules a little bit, but overall, really, seriously, do not ever cut towards your hand. You see what I'm doing right here in this slide, cutting towards my hand. That will end in blood and tears. Maybe not tears, but there will be blood. Okay, it's going to happen. I actually cut myself a little bit last night, just playing around, making a joke about, you know, my students carving themselves. The best way to carve is to just make sure you cut away from yourself. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, it's an awkward hand position, but you need to, you know, you can hold the block, you know, from one hand, put the carving tool over it and cut away from yourself. Certainly, you don't want to put your face down close and then accidentally cut your face. Fun fact, that's how Braille lost his eyesight. He was carving a piece of leather and his face was too close. He stabbed himself in the eyes. True story. Look it up. Don't know why I put that in there, but I'm a teacher, so you have to just take it. Anyway, no, do not jab, shovel, snap, pry, or otherwise break material away. Maybe in that early part you can come with this serrated knife, but don't, just please, I show in the video, don't pry, don't pop. And you see why in the video, because a couple pieces do break off. Luckily I adapted and everything was good. But biggest thing, don't cut towards yourself. It's not just towards your hand, don't cut towards your body either. If you're working on your lap and you cut this way, you're gonna cut your femoral artery. Not cool, okay? You gotta just be careful. Be patient, be careful. Don't cut towards your body. I should edit that. Don't cut towards your body at all. Also, think about what's under or behind your block. You're going to end up with a bunch of holes poked in your table. Swiss tables, as it were. If you don't, you'll be conscious of where you're cutting into. Put a cutting block down underneath it, or just be ready, understand you're going to make a mess and poke holes potentially in whatever you're carving. Okay, so focus all attention on one side at the start. Think about it like you're carving out the silhouette. Look one direction and all the way through. All of the parts must fit in the block. I feel like I've probably said that before. No, I'm just kidding. Carve also bigger than you're drawing. So, I use Sharpie here on my wax, and I carve well outside of my carving, because you can always take away, or you can always, take away more. But if you accidentally take away too much, you can't add it back, remember? So cut bigger than you're drawing. Don't get over eager and break parts off. Patience is key. Let me repeat that. Patience. And you're going to go all the way through, but you will start to notice, like for mine, I have to cut all the way through the block. And it's delicate. I realized pretty quick I wasn't going to be able to cut all the way through, cut a hole without risking breaking these parts. So once I got as far as I could on one side and I got the outer silhouette done all the way through, I redrew it on the back and worked from this way. So basically it's important to realize you can start to carve another side before you totally finish the first one, but it should be the opposite. So even though I couldn't totally finish carving the front, I didn't move to the side. I went all the way to the back so that I can work it in as the silhouette, totally finish out that silhouette. Okay, so to be sure you carve the full silhouette, any large gaps or forms, you may need to switch to the opposite side. I felt like I can't get any further without breaking parts, so I just switched to the opposite side, but still focused on the angles and silhouettes. This angle's silhouette. Okay, it's all about the silhouette. Ask me sometime where the word silhouette comes from if you're interested. It's cool. Also, it'll let me know that you watched the video. Anyway, don't switch to carving another side until you get as far as you can from this first angle. Pretty much as like close to done as you can. I finally got all the way through by carving from both sides. I still had a lot of excess outside of my drawing, but overall I got pretty far. Now notice, I knew that some of the arms and things I was going to be drawing were going to be pretty delicate, so I did leave a little wax up here at the top to make sure I didn't snap them. Okay, also it goes all the way through from front to back. This is the back angle, right? It's not the front angle here. You can see the silhouette goes all the way through. However, if you look from the side, it's still just a rectangle. Okay, this is a sign you've done it correctly. When you turn it sideways, it's still just a block. Okay, still just a rectangular block. Also, at this point, to remember your finished sculpture should not, at the end have this. Okay, it's good at this stage to have an angle that's just a block, but be sure by the end, if you turn it sideways and it looks like a plain rectangle, you need to carve more. You need to that's activating that negative space. If you just have a block, it's not going to look right. The only way that it should look like a block is maybe from the bottom because you've got the base attached. Okay? So after you get that front side done and you're looking at this and it's the side angle looks just like a block, you add the side drawing. Then start carving that away. Start carving parts from the side. I started to cut away. I made sure that I left the post. Also notice, even though I knew the two arms on the front and back are going to be separate, I left them. You can see it in the 2 slides back too. I left them as one solid block all the way from front to back. That's what that last sentence was. okay? Anyway, it's a solid block, but then I start carving away from the side. I make sure to left the wax here so that I could carve those arms later, and I started to carve the other side. Remember, before I move on, necessarily I can carve the side and then start carving the opposite side, making sure they match. You know, it's creating that full silhouette. And so as I got the full silhouette and I started to carve away those front and back kind of spires that come to a point, not the squiggly ones, but the spires, I did break it. I was trying to do that part, like kind of detach the spires from each other, right? That place that I had left initially, I did in fact break it. But key here is that I did not panic. You can hopefully adapt your design or figure out a way to reattach things. Do think about, do you want to finish carving a piece before reattaching so that it doesn't break again, or can you put it on and then keep carving? Basically, do you want to finish carving the spire and then attach it, or do you want to attach it and see if you can finish carving with them attached? That's something really key. In my case, I actually finished carving the spire and then I attached it. I used a toothpick, right? Those bamboo skewers we had earlier are good too. Those are probably a little big for this model, but keep in mind the bamboo skewers might be helpful when we get to floral foam next week. Kind of do the same function as a toothpick, but you can't see, but there's a little toothpick in my hand. I actually I heated up the wax a little bit, got it soft. I stuck just a little, like half of a toothpick down into the base. Then I heated that spire that I had already finished carving and stuck it down onto the toothpick. Okay? Pretty cool. And then I actually warmed it up a little bit and kind of tried to scrape it. That's why it actually ended up a little thick there. I didn't nail the reattachment, but I got it kind of working for the most part. I could probably take some of this excess wax and thicken it up, whatever. But yeah, basically, I placed the toothpick inside, used it as a patch, and then I used heat on the wax, or you can just use water for soap if something breaks, okay? Soften it up with water. Cool? So don't panic, whatever you do. And then just from there, once you get to really started carving from the two sides, really quickly you'll just start to see the shape and be able to start kind of free-form carving. I think it's a good idea to look at it from 3/4 turns and all that stuff. But essentially at this point, you'll see the form taking shape, and you can start adding finishing details. And then I ran, for wax, I ran a light flame over the whole thing to maybe even out the wax surface, but I didn't do much. If it starts to drip and go everywhere, that means you're melting the sculpture. Not a great idea. And you can see I didn't get it that smooth. I just did a little bit to see what to do. I did the same thing on my soap carving. Be sure at this point that you've got engaging positive and negative space. No angles should be just plain blocky. This is a kind of blocky angle, but it's largely just an optical illusion because it does have this really open space in the middle. I know it's engaging space, but even this side, I guess it's got the in and out. It's not too bad, but it's something to keep in mind. You don't want any blocky, boring angles. And you may not be able to fix it at this point, but if you see a boring, blocky angle, make sure, assess if that's the one you want to do for your final, or how could you change it to do your final next week and all that stuff. Okay? So, yeah, that's all the details. All done with one. Okay? This is just practice. It does not have to be totally finished. I'm saying all done. I know it's not totally done. It's just close. Okay? I think it'd be great if you guys could get a little further than mine, but at this stage, that's pretty good. That you got carving practice in for sure. But yeah, you can take a little further. Just be sure whatever you're doing, you're going to get good practice. You're not going to need to paint it. You're not going to need to put any textures or anything on it. It's just practicing carving. Notice I left a base. If that's not possible at this stage, just remember to think about it, how you would attach it to the base. If yours is just a free-form block, how could you attach it to a base, like when we're doing our final, that kind of thing. Forms can evolve and change. It's okay if they're not exactly the same. Mine aren't the exact same, as they move from clay to wax or clay to soap. But it is key. I haven't said this word so far in this slideshow, but it is key that it is non-objective. Okay? It is key that you keep it non-objective. It can change, you can develop, but don't make it look like a thing. No flowers, no animals, no, not even vines. It needs to be totally non-objective. So keep that in mind. Keep it going. This is due next week. You're going to do 2 of them. That gives you a chance to practice. I think just one would not work. And actually, I did take note. I said in the video too, you know, this is a little bit easier to carve, honestly, than this is a little bit, the floral foam is easier to carve than this is, but that doesn't necessarily mean the floral foam is less difficult. I don't know. You'll see. But just practice with this. Get 2 photos of each, so I guess 4 photos total, so that I get 2 angles of each one. Upload them both of the sculptures, both of the photos of both sculptures, to the assignment by next Tuesday at midnight. So Tuesday, 4/5 at midnight. You're going to upload these sculptures, these photos. Okay? I'm hungry. I'm kind of losing it. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, base them at least loosely on your clay sculptures. Also, this is a little teaser. This is what we're going to be looking. We are going to paint. We are going to finish. It's going to be nice and smooth and totally finished, right? It's going to be more finished out when we do the final. How many times can I say finished? Finish. Anyway, next week we'll discuss the final. It's going to be a finished and painted, non-objective, expressive sculpture made out of floral foam. Get excited if you want. I guess you don't have to. But just think about, obviously you don't have to worry a ton, but think about color, think about the base, think about the material as you work this week. Also, be sure, go check out the video demo. You can see me, carve. I tried to do it as best I could. It still took, it's a long video, but a quick carve, really, relatively. But be sure you have watched this slides video and the demo video for how to do this, so you can see how I did the soap here. Also, worth noting, I think, I'll just go ahead and stop the share. I think that's it, yep. Worth noting is I am going to drop the slides and these videos today, and tomorrow, some point in the afternoon, I like to get it done by noon, but tomorrow at some point, look out for the midterm quiz to drop. Okay? It's going to be a multiple choice / short answer. There may be a short answer, but multiple choice, fill in the blank for the most part. And it will be open notes, no time limit, but you only get 1 attempt. Okay? So think about that. Look for that. Let me know if you have questions. You have until next Tuesday at midnight as well to do your quiz. Okay? So you have several days to do this. There's no excuse not to get it done. Open notes, several days. Yeah, plenty of time. And it's not that long, really, in the end. You'll see. I haven't totally finished writing it, but yeah, it'll be no more than 10 to 15 questions. But in any case, I hope that it gave you everything you needed for this coursework this week. Email me if you have any questions. And yeah, sculptures due next Tuesday. Quiz due next Tuesday. Oh, also on the quiz, if you missed the deadline, midnight Tuesday, there's no retaking it. 0. That's all there is. It's just too hard because the answers get released, blah, 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 all that stuff. So anyways, you guys have a good week, and I will talk to you next time.